She walked in with dirt under her nails and left with a 12mm necklace because her billionaire husband taught a luxury store a brutal lesson about judging a book by its cover. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. Elena Ramirez walked into Belisario's, the most exclusive jewelry store in the city, wearing her simple cotton dress and carrying a worn leather purse. She had come straight from her volunteer shift at the community garden, her hands still bearing traces of soil despite her best efforts to clean them. The pristine marble floors seemed to shine accusingly beneath her modest flats. She approached. The display case, drawn to a magnificent diamond necklace that glittered under the carefully positioned lighting. The Aurora diamond, as it was called, featured a 15-carat blue diamond surrounded by white diamonds in an intricate platinum setting. Its $12 million price tag was discreetly noted on a small card beside it. "May I see that one, please?" Elena asked softly. The sales associate, Vivian, looked Elena up and down with thinly veiled disdain. She wore a perfect black suit, her blonde hair pulled back in a severe bun. Her smile didn't reach her eyes as she replied, "I'm afraid that particular piece isn't available for general viewing. Perhaps I could show you something more suitable?" Elena shook her head. "No, thank you. I'd like to see the Aurora diamond necklace." Reluctantly, Vivian removed the necklace from the display. As Elena reached out to touch it, her elbow accidentally knocked over a small crystal paperweight on the counter. In the momentary confusion, Vivian let out a gasp. "The necklace! Security!" she shouted, backing away from Elena. Two security guards appeared instantly. Elena stood frozen in confusion as Vivian pointed at her accusingly. "She was trying to steal the Aurora diamond. Check her purse." The store manager, Jeffrey Harrington, arrived on the scene with the deliberate calm of someone accustomed to handling situations. His tailored suit and silver hair projected authority as he gestured for the guards to hold Elena in place. "Madam, I'm afraid we'll need to check your belongings," he said with practiced politeness that couldn't mask his suspicion. "This is ridiculous," Elena protested, her cheeks burning with embarrassment as other customers watched the scene unfold. "I didn't take anything." The security guard emptied her purse onto the counter. Her wallet, with just $43 in cash, some receipts, lip balm, car keys, and a worn paperback book. "No necklace." "She must have hidden it somewhere," Vivian insisted. "On her person, perhaps." Jeffrey nodded to a female security officer who had just arrived. "Please escort this woman to the back room for a more thorough search." Elena felt tears forming in her eyes. "Please, this is a mistake. I just wanted to look at it." "My husband." "Yes, I'm sure your husband would be very interested to know what you've been up to," Jeffrey interrupted with a condescending smile. "We've heard many creative stories over the years." A small crowd had gathered outside the Velvet, ropes that now surrounded the area. Whispers and disapproving glances cut through Elena like knives. In the sterile back room of the store, Elena sat on a metal chair, her hands trembling slightly as she dialed her husband's number. The female security officer stood by the door, arms crossed. "Michael, I need your help," Elena said, her voice breaking slightly. "I'm at Belisario's on 5th Avenue, and they think I tried to steal a necklace." The security officer rolled her eyes, clearly having heard this routine before. "No, I'm serious," Elena continued. "They've searched my purse, and now they want to—" She paused, looking at the female guard. "They want to search me." Elena listened for a moment, then handed the phone to the security officer. "He wants to speak with whoever's in charge." The officer took the phone with visible reluctance. "This is Officer Ramirez, security at Belisario's." Her expression shifted from boredom to confusion, then to uncertainty. "Yes, sir. I understand." "Right away, sir." She handed the phone back to Elena, looking somewhat pale. "He's on his way," Elena said quietly, ending the call. 45 minutes passed in uncomfortable silence. The store manager had joined them in the back room, his earlier confidence beginning to waver after receiving a series of increasingly urgent calls from unknown numbers. Mrs. Jeffrey began, his tone noticeably more respectful. Winters. Elena. Winters, she replied calmly. The tears had dried, replaced by a quiet dignity. Mrs. Winters, perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. We take security very seriously here, and... The door opened, and a store assistant appeared, looking flustered. Mr. Harrington, there's a situation in the front of the store that requires your immediate attention. Jeffrey excused himself, clearly relieved to exit the increasingly awkward atmosphere of the back room. When Jeffrey reached the main showroom, he found it emptied of customers. Standing by the center display case was Michael Winters, the reclusive tech billionaire whose company had revolutionized renewable energy storage. Despite his $58 billion net worth, he wore a simple navy blazer over a white t-shirt and jeans. His security detail had positioned themselves discreetly around the perimeter of the store. "Mr. Harrington?" Michael asked, his voice calm but authoritative. Jeffrey hurried forward with an outstretched hand. "Mr. Winters, what an unexpected honor. Had I known you were coming—" "Where's my wife?" Michael interrupted, ignoring the offered handshake. Jeffrey's smile faltered. "Your wife? I'm afraid I don't—" "Elena Winters, the woman your staff accused of theft and has detained for nearly an hour." The color drained from Jeffrey's face as the connection became clear. "There's been a terrible misunderstanding. We had no idea Mrs. Winters was your—" "Would it matter if she wasn't?" Michael asked sharply. "Does someone need to be married to a billionaire to be treated with basic dignity in your establishment?" Vivian, who had been hovering nearby, stepped forward nervously. "Sir, the necklace she was looking at cost $12 million, and her appearance suggested—" "Suggested what exactly?" Michael's gaze fixed on her name tag. "Vivian, is it? What exactly did my wife's appearance suggest to you?" "Vivian," stammered, unable to formulate a response that wouldn't incriminate her further. Elena emerged from the back room, escorted by the security officer who now looked thoroughly embarrassed. She walked directly to her husband, who embraced her briefly before turning back to Jeffrey. "The Aurora diamond necklace. My wife mentioned she was interested in seeing it." Jeffrey snapped his fingers at Vivian. "The necklace, please. Right. Away!" Vivian fumbled with the keys to the display case, retrieving the spectacular piece with trembling hands. She placed it on a velvet display cushion and brought it to Michael. Michael examined it briefly before looking at Elena. "What do you think? Is it the one you wanted?" Elena smiled softly. "It's beautiful, but I was only curious to see it up close. I was thinking of something similar but simpler for our anniversary." Michael nodded, then turned to Jeffrey. "We'll take this one. Consider it a down payment on the custom piece my wife will design with your jewelers." He paused. "That is, if you still want Belisario's to handle our anniversary gift after today." Elena squeezed her husband's arm gently. "Everyone deserves a second chance." Jeffrey's relief was palpable. "We would be honored, Mrs. Winters, and please accept our most sincere apologies for this unfortunate incident." Michael nodded to one of his security team, who brought forward a metal briefcase. The man opened it, revealing neat stacks of cash. $12 million in cash," Michael announced. "Plus applicable taxes, of course." The store fell into stunned silence. As the security team began counting out the money on the counter, Michael turned to address the staff who had gathered to watch. "My wife doesn't carry credit cards or wear designer clothes because she believes in living simply. She volunteers at homeless shelters and community gardens, the dirt under her fingernails, that some of you found so distasteful. That comes from planting vegetables that feed hundreds of families each week." He picked up the necklace and gently placed it around Elena's neck. "The woman you judged by her appearance has helped my company fund clean water initiatives across 3 continents. She's the reason we've built 27 schools in developing nations. And she's the reason I get up every morning believing the world can be better than it is. Jeffrey cleared his throat awkwardly. Mr. Winters, I want to assure you that Belisario's does not condone— Save it, Michael interrupted. Your actions today spoke volumes about your establishment's values. The only reason we're completing this purchase is because my wife believes in second chances. He looked around at the assembled staff. I suggest you all reflect on what happened here today. Vivian stood frozen near the entrance, her perfectly manicured hands clasped tightly in front of her, as if in prayer. The weight of her actions had finally settled upon her shoulders, transforming her previously rigid posture into something more fragile. The carefully applied makeup couldn't hide the flush of shame that had crept across her features. She had spent 7 years at Belisario's, priding herself on her ability to identify the right clientele, to separate the serious buyers from the aspirational browsers who wasted her valuable time. Now, that same instinct had led to the most humiliating professional moment of her career. Mrs. Winters, Vivian began, her voice barely above a whisper as she stepped forward hesitantly. The woman before her, the same woman she had so quickly judged and dismissed, now stood transformed in her perception, not by the extraordinary necklace adorning her neck, but by the quiet dignity with which she had endured the store's mistreatment. I'm truly sorry for how I treated you. There's no excuse for my behavior. Elena studied the woman's face carefully, looking past the expensive haircut and designer clothing to the person beneath. What she saw was something familiar. Fear. Fear of inadequacy, fear of making mistakes, fear of not belonging in these rarefied surroundings. How many times had Vivian herself been judged, Elena wondered, before she learned to become the judge? We all make mistakes, Vivian, Elena said finally, her voice gentle but firm. The question is what we learn from them. She paused, considering her next words carefully. People are rarely what they seem on the surface. That's true of both the wealthy and those who appear to have nothing. Vivian nodded, blinking rapidly to hold back unexpected tears. I've spent so long in this world, she gestured vaguely at the opulent surroundings, that I've forgotten how to see people instead of price tags. Michael watched this exchange with quiet interest, observing his wife's natural capacity for compassion, the same quality that had drawn him to her 3 years ago when they met at a community garden fundraiser. While he had been prepared to unleash corporate lawyers and public relations disasters upon Belisario's, Elena's approach offered something more profound, an opportunity for genuine change. Jeffrey Harrington hovered awkwardly nearby, his usual confident demeanor completely dismantled. The store manager's mind was already calculating the potential damage, not just the loss of the Winters as clients, but the ripple effect through their extensive social and business networks. One mistake could cost Belisario's millions in future sales. He cleared his throat, preparing to launch into another carefully crafted apology, but Michael silenced him with a subtle shake of his head. This moment belonged to Elena and Vivian. Perhaps, Elena continued, reaching out to briefly touch Vivian's arm, you might consider volunteering sometime. The community garden where I work could always use more hands. There's something about digging in the earth that helps put things in perspective. Vivian appeared momentarily startled by the invitation, not a social connection to leverage the Winters' wealth and status, but a genuine offer to experience Elena's world. I think I'd like that, she replied with surprising sincerity. The remaining staff members of Belisario's watched this exchange in stunned silence. The $12 million in cash still sat on the counter, an obscene display of wealth that somehow seemed less significant than the human drama unfolding before them. The security guards who had so quickly responded to Vivian's accusation now stood with heads slightly bowed, unable to meet Elena's eyes. Michael checked his watch, not out of impatience, but from habit. Despite his enormous wealth, he remained, conscious of time as the most democratic of resources. We should be going, he said softly to Elena. "The foundation meeting starts in 45 minutes." Elena nodded, then turned once more to address not just Vivian, but the entire assembled staff. "Today could have gone very differently," she said. "Remember that the next time someone unsuitable walks through your doors." Her words carried no malice, only a gentle warning wrapped in wisdom. As the couple moved toward the exit, the store's atmosphere transformed. Where there had initially been suspicion and then obsequious pandering, now there was something approaching genuine respect. The security team held the doors open, their earlier suspicion replaced with deference that stemmed not from fear of Michael's wealth, but from admiration for Elena's grace. Outside on the sidewalk, the contrast between the jewelry store's rarefied atmosphere and the bustling city street was stark. Pedestrians hurried past, oblivious to the drama that had just concluded, or the fortune now draped around Elena's neck. A street vendor selling hot dogs 3 storefronts down called out his prices, while a mother struggled with a stroller over an uneven section of pavement. "Here, let me help you," Elena said, automatically moving toward the woman with the stroller before Michael gently reminded her of the $12 million necklace now in her possession. With a small laugh of acknowledgement, she stepped back, watching as one of Michael's security team smoothly moved forward to assist instead. Their modest sedan still sat where Elena had parked it earlier, looking even more out of place among the luxury vehicles lining the street than it had upon their arrival. Michael's security detail had arrived in separate vehicles, understated black SUVs with tinted windows that revealed little but suggested much. 2 security personnel scanned the street while another opened the passenger door of the sedan. "You didn't have to do that," Elena said as they walked toward the car, her fingers unconsciously touching the diamonds at her throat. "Buy the necklace, I mean. It was an extravagant gesture, even for you." Michael smiled, the lines around his eyes crinkling in the way Elena had always found endearing. Unlike many of his wealthy peers, his face showed the evidence of both laughter and concern. A map of a life fully lived despite the insulating effects of extreme wealth. "I know," he acknowledged, but somehow it felt like the right statement to make. He paused, watching her expression. "Not just to them, but to you. A reminder that I see you, the real you, even when others don't." Elena's eyes softened at his words. Their relationship had always been based on this mutual recognition, seeing past the surface to what truly mattered. When they'd met, Michael had been surrounded by people seeking proximity to his success, yet somehow he had noticed the quiet woman organizing volunteers at the community garden fundraiser, and Elena, who had spent her life avoiding the materialistic values that had dominated her parents' unhappy marriage, had recognized in Michael a kindred spirit whose wealth was incidental to his character. "It's ridiculously expensive," she protested, though her fingers continued to lightly trace the intricate design of the necklace. The afternoon sunlight caught the diamonds, sending prisms of light dancing across her simple cotton dress. "Consider it an investment in human dignity," Michael replied, his tone light but his eyes serious. "Besides, you look stunning in it. Beauty. Complementing beauty." Elena laughed as she got into the car, the sound genuine and unrestrained. "I'm going to wear it to serve soup at the shelter next week. Can you imagine Mrs. Coopersmith's face?" she said, referring to the society matron who chaired the shelter's board and who had never quite approved of Elena's marriage to Michael, viewing it as some form of calculated social climbing rather than the meeting of kindred spirits. It truly was. "That," Michael said as he closed her door and walked around to the driver's side, "is exactly why I married you." As they settled into the sedan's worn leather seats, the juxtaposition was striking. A $12 million necklace against the backdrop of a 10-year-old car with a coffee stain on the passenger seat and a small crack in the windshield. Michael had offered countless times to replace the vehicle, but Elena had refused. It was reliable, practical, and held memories of her life before wealth had complicated everything. The security team's lead agent approached Michael's window, which he lowered with the press of a button. "We'll follow at a discreet distance, sir," the man said, his expression professionally neutral despite the unusual circumstances. "Thank you, David," Michael replied. "But please have the team hang back when we reach the foundation. The last thing we need is to intimidate potential grant recipients with a security presence." David nodded, though his slight frown indicated professional concern. "And the necklace, sir? Should we arrange for secure storage after the meeting?" Michael glanced at Elena, who was gazing out the passenger window, seemingly lost in thought. "We'll discuss that later," he said quietly. "For now, let's just give my wife some space to process everything that's happened." As they pulled away from the curb, Elena continued looking out at the city streets. The extraordinary necklace glittered against her simple cotton dress, a visual contradiction that perfectly embodied the woman who believed true value had nothing to do with appearances. The world outside the car window continued its urban symphony. A business executive hurried past, speaking urgently into a smartphone. Two teenagers shared earbuds as they waited for a bus. An elderly man fed pigeons on a nearby bench. "What are you thinking about?" Michael asked, after they had driven in comfortable silence for several blocks. Elena turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "I'm thinking about ripples," she said. "How one moment can change so many things." Michael nodded, understanding immediately. It was one of the things he loved most about their relationship, the way their minds often followed similar paths without needing explanation. "The butterfly effect," he murmured. "Yes," Elena agreed. "Vivian might never have invited me to view that necklace if I'd been dressed differently. You might never have needed to come to my rescue. We wouldn't have had the opportunity to make her, all of them, think differently about their assumptions. And you wouldn't be wearing $12 million around your neck while heading to a meeting about funding homeless initiatives," Michael added with a wry smile. Elena laughed again, the sound filling the car with warmth. "Life is full of irony, isn't it? But that's what makes it interesting." She reached across the console to place her hand over his on the gear shift. "Thank you for coming to my rescue today, even though we both know I could have handled it myself." "I have no doubt about that," Michael replied, and he meant it. His wife's strength had never been in question. "But sometimes it's nice to have backup, especially when that backup comes with a briefcase full of cash." As they approached the foundation headquarters, a converted warehouse in a formerly industrial district that was now home to nonprofits and art studios, Elena's expression grew more serious. "The necklace," she began. "I know it was a statement, and I appreciate what you were trying to do, but it's not you," Michael finished for her. "I know, and that's okay. We can donate it, auction it for the foundation, or lock it away for our future grandchildren. Whatever you want." Elena considered this as they pulled into the parking lot. Unlike the exclusive jewelry district they had just left, here the cars were modest and the building utilitarian. No one would look twice at their sedan in this context. Though the necklace would certainly raise eyebrows. "Let's auction it," she decided finally. "But not right away. First, I want to wear it while serving meals at the shelter, volunteering at the garden, and sitting through at least one of your board meetings." Michael raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Making a statement of your own?" "Several statements," Elena clarified as she carefully removed the necklace and placed it in the glove compartment, a temporarily inadequate but symbolically perfect storage solution. "About worth, about appearance, about assumptions, and about how the most valuable things in life have nothing to do with diamond carats or dollar signs." As they exited the car and walked toward the foundation building, Elena's hand found Michael's, their fingers intertwining with the comfortable familiarity of partners who had chosen each other for reasons that transcended the material world. Behind them, the security team maintained a respectful distance, present but unobtrusive. much like the wealth that shaped but did not define their lives. The Foundation's double doors opened before them, revealing a world where Elena's simple cotton dress would raise no eyebrows, where her ideas rather than her appearance would determine her reception. It was in many ways coming home to the world they both believed in, one where true value lay in character, compassion, and the courage to see beyond surfaces to the humanity beneath.